First up today on AGetc, Denise Scribner from Eisenhower High School takes us into the classroom where she applies her seed-to-stem training to make ethanol. Then we're talking barbecue food safety with Liz Boyle. Next, Sandy Johnson gives tips on starting a successful AI program. Then Temple Grandin is talking cattle handling. And we'll end with Dr. Chris Blevins discussing skin disease to be aware of during the hot summer months. Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Well, I'm so excited to have you visiting today because it shows what we're doing in our classroom and how we're extending the science into our agricultural network here that we have around us in Goddard. And we're just so excited to be doing. I've been wanting to do this lab for 7 years, but we just didn't have the financial resources. And then I spoke at the annual meeting of Kansas Ag in the Classroom Foundation, and I mentioned that too bad we can't do this because we just don't have the glassware and it's quite expensive. A gentleman right out of the audience came up, gave me his card, Jeffrey from ICM, and he came up and said, would $500 help you get started? And he donated $500, and then Kansas Corn caught a hold of it, the Kansas Corn Commission. They came up with some additional funding, and Kansas Renew finished off the top so we could have 6 complete distillation sets. That way I have 3 sets per class, and it's just not kids observing something, it's them doing hands-on application to the distillation process of the corn and milo into ethanol gasoline.
Okay, my name's Sarah Vanderhoff, and I'm a junior at Eisenhower High School, and this year we got the opportunity to go to Pratt ethanol plant. Actually got to see like how big the process actually is and what they use, and they have to put it in like these giant tin cans. Some of them were like 150,000 gallons full of like corn mash and stuff like that. And then we were able to go to a lab and see actually how the process works in such a smaller scale, and then them testing it. And that's kind of what we did back here, is like the lab work and stuff like that.
My name's Marcus. I'd probably say the coolest part would be the chemist part, because at the plant we learned that there's like 2 major like categories and everything, and one was chemists and the other was like the actual like workers that would go outside and make it. And on this one I got to be the chemist with my friend and everything, and it was pretty fun. We had to mix a bunch of stuff and it got a little confusing, but our teacher helped us out and everything. So
we were provided with this equipment, and it was just a fun opportunity thing to do. We do have some data that we have to fill out, and that's probably how it's going to be graded, and see if we have the correct numbers and calculations. So we'd have to let it boil, and then once it started boiling, we had to make sure that it wouldn't rise to where it would go out the wrong flask part. And then we had a funnel and a little tube where we would pour water down the tube so it would keep it cool, so it would turn into a liquid back again after it evaporated into a gas, so it would go back into a liquid form, and that's how we got the ethanol from it.
I mean, I personally want to be an engineer, and I just never thought that there'd be a job thing out there that you could be an engineer to work on ethanol, gas, and everything else.
The job opportunities are boundless in agriculture, and I try to educate my students in that, because they're not, all they think of is the farmer behind the wheel of a tractor. They don't think of the individuals that supply the farmer with all their feedstock or the materials that they need to grow their crops, all the chemists, biologists, all of the agricultural support personnel at our wildlife parks and our soil commission, and all those individuals, the geologists, the watershed people. So we go over, every time we have a unit, we go over every single job that can be possibly created from that industry and that application of the information. And I always put agricultural ties to it, because after all, we're an agricultural state.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways. Of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at kfrm.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on Ag AM in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Wheat. Learn more at rediscoverwheat.org.
Hi, we're here today to talk about barbecue food safety. It's barbecue season, so a lot of people are getting outdoors and firing up their grills for the summer season. So there's a few things you need to keep in mind from a food safety perspective to keep your delicious barbecue safe for everyone to enjoy. There's a few things that I'd like to mention. One would be to make sure that you don't cross-contaminate, so that when you're handling raw meat products, you need to wash your hands. And washing your hands becomes very important, especially with grilling, because we are taking food outside. We're handling doorknobs, we're handling tongs, we're handling raw meat and poultry. One thing that some consumers think they need to do is to wash their meat before they grill it. Modern harvesting practices have washing procedures inherently associated with them. Even if you did wash it, what can result is a lot of cross-contamination in your sink area, on your counters from the splatters or the drops that aspirate from hitting the meat surface. So don't wash your meat. Next, when you marinate your products, that you marinate at refrigeration temperatures, because temperature is extremely important. We want to keep foods out of the danger zone, which is from 40 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. To make sure that the food that you're serving is safe when you've cooked it on the grill, you want to use a meat thermometer. This is an inexpensive meat thermometer that you can buy at most retail stores. I like the digital version because I like to see the actual readout on the numbers. When we use the thermometer, we want to make sure we insert the thermometer about an inch into our product. So if this was a hamburger patty, I would insert it about an inch into the patty so that I get my tip to the center and not take it from the top down, but from the side. Why do we want to take the temperature? Because we need to rely on temperature for doneness. Cook that product to 160 degrees internal temperature. We can't rely on color. So keep your barbecue safe and enjoy your meals.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we're glad to answer and work with you.
Hi, I'm Kim Mandarin with Hardy Insurance. I'm here to help you with all of your farm and ranch needs. When it comes to protecting your operation and your family, you need a name you can trust at a price you can afford. Call me today or visit hardyaviationins.com.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
This segment brought to you by Sure Crop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
Yes, my name is Sandy Johnson. I'm an Extension Beef Specialist for K-State Research and Extension located at Colby. Today I want to visit with producers about starting an AI program for the first time. And I think one of the key things before we take on any venture like that, particularly where we may add some cost to our production system, is to have clear production goals. What are we going to do with this? Have a clear marketing endpoint. And we'll have the opportunity to use a lot of genetic tools, and so we need to understand how those tools work and how they apply to our situation. We don't want to be using something like a dollar beef index if we're selling calves at weaning. That's counterproductive to your operation. So make sure you have clear goals and understand how those genetic tools will help you achieve those goals. Then you might want to think about what animals are you going to put in the AI program. It's always good to start simple and grow from there. You know, if we think about cows, heifers, and 2-year-olds, they all come with different complications. Heifers are probably the easiest to breed because they don't have that calf with them. The other advantage to heifers is one of the biggest values of AI can be that high accuracy calving ease sire. So a very good place to leverage AI genetics if you raise your own replacements. Then as we look at mature cows versus 2-year-olds, sometimes we have more challenges getting those 2-year-olds bred, but yet maybe helping them with a progestin and a synchronization program might help them breed back earlier. So there's some trade-offs there in terms of the mature cows and the 2-year-olds. And looking at the calving distribution of those groups might help make some decisions. The next thing we might talk about is who is going to do that work. Are you going to go to AI school yourself, or are you going to rely on some other technician or your veterinarian to help you do that? Certainly there's a number of AI schools we can direct you to. There are also good technicians to do that, and you may want to think about using someone to help you initially as you get used to it, and then maybe, depending on the number of animals, start AIing on your own. The more animals you inseminate, the better you get at it. And so sometimes that's a challenge in getting over that initial hurdle. And then the other thing we might talk briefly about is some tools that we might use if we want to implement an estrus synchronization program, particularly if we're bringing in somebody from outside. If we can schedule our AI, that can be very useful. So I want to direct you to, there's some lists of recommended protocols that you will find at our beefrepro.info site or in ksubeef.org. In all the major sire catalogs, there are recommended protocols. Highly recommended for anybody starting the first time to select something off of that list. We also have a tool called the Estrus Synchronization Planner that essentially puts those protocols on a calendar for you. One of the most common problems, even for people that are experienced, is not getting the right product on the right day, because you go into the house, you pick something up, and you pick up the wrong thing, you're in a hurry, and it doesn't work that way. You got to have the right product on the right day and really follow those. It's almost like a recipe. Apply it on this day and on this time, and when we talk about a 60-hour interval, we want you a couple hours within that interval, not just sometime that day. So we have a lot of good resources to help you. Would also recommend our appliedreprostrategies.com website with a number of good resources from past meetings and a lot of good reference material there.
Summer is busy at Tarwater Farm and Home. We have just about everything you'll need for your summer projects, and we're consistently competitively priced. Tarwaters can help make your grass and garden grow. And we have a huge variety of equipment to cut it. If you have a farm, Tarwaters has the products and equipment to keep it going strong. And our expanded parking lot will make it even more convenient to shop. So come see us at Tarwater Farm and Home in Topeka.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
I'm Temple Grandin. I am professor of animal science at Colorado State University. And first thing you need to do in working with livestock is you have to calm down. And when you calm down, there's a whole lot more things that you can learn. It takes animals 30 minutes to calm down if they've gotten excited. People need to be a good observer. What are your cattle looking at? Which way are their ears going? Maybe you need to get rid of all the vehicles that are parked along the fences that are scaring the animal. Get rid of the chains hanging down, the coats on the fences. Also, there's research now that shows if you take the young heifers and work them through the corrals, it's going to make them easier to work in the future. But it's important to give them a reward in the corral of something really tasty. So it's worth their while to get caught in a squeeze chute. Well, one layout mistake that you don't want to make is you got to make sure that when your animal stands at the entrance to your single file chute, you can see at least two body lengths down it. If you bend it wrong at the junction between the crowd pen, regardless of the design you have, it's laid out wrong at that junction, it will really mess up your facility. They have got to see a place to go. And there's lots of stuff that's laid out wrong. Little tubs that sort of just go like that don't work very well. If you're going to use a tub, it should really go around in a half circle and take advantage of the natural tendency of going back to where they come from. A lot of bud boxes are laid out wrong. And you need to be using any kind of a crowd pen as a passing through pen. Don't store cattle in there because they're all going to turn around and want to go back to where they're coming from. You want to have them pass through the crowd pen and fill up the single file. So wait until you have space in the single file so you can bring the cattle up there and just bring them on around and they go on in. And use that following behavior. Big mistake that people make when they're working cattle is to put too many cattle in the crowd pen. And this mistake happens regardless of crowd pen design. Fill it half full. I mean, the best thing is whatever you put in the crowd pen fits in the single file. But you want to have a single file that's long enough so you can get some following behavior. Maybe holding a minimum of 4 cows. You don't want something too long. But if you store cattle in a crowd pen, they turn around on you because they always want to go back to where they come from. Good handling is going to require more walking to bring up small bunches. In some facilities, that's going to be 3 adult cows, a very small amount. Maybe another facility, you can bring up 6 adult cows. You need to figure out what works well and stick with it. Putting too many animals in a crowd pen is the #1 mistake that people make because they don't want to do the walking to bring up those smaller groups. It's important that an animal's first experience with something new like the corrals be a good first experience. Take the young heifers, just walk them through, and then give them some feed rewards in the corrals. I was just talking to a rancher that says, oh, well, they went back to their bunks and ate. But that's their bunks. That's not the corrals. We want them to associate the corrals with something good, and so you bring them out and give them a little bit of treat right there in the corral. I'm at the Department of Animal Science at Colorado State University, and there's contact information on the Animal Science website. And I also have lots of information on Grandin.com, just my last name. And I've got a new book called Temple Grandin's Guide to Working with Farm Animals. And it's got lots of designs that are really good for rented land, made with portable facilities, much simpler designs. Because another thing that's happened is a lot of cattle today, especially breeds such as Angus cattle, we've been doing a lot of temperament selection. So some of the cattle we have today, they're not as wild as the cattle we had 20 years ago. And they're going to work a lot better in simpler facilities than some of the cattle that I had when we first started.
The new Better Horses Network is worldwide. Presented by Lucas Oil. Featuring worldwide radio and TV with iconic hosts like Al Dunning, Sharon Camarillo, Ernie Rodina, Lindy Birch, and Craig Cameron. With American Cowboy, Horse and Rider, Brushy Creek, Cavenders, and Ride TV. Worldwide radio and TV. The all-new Better Horses Network.
I dug trees by hand for years and years and years. In the process, I wore out my rotator cuff. But when I learned about this process, I thought if there was a way to get rid of this pain, then I wanted to do it. So we did it, and it worked. I'm not going to go out and dig trees with a shovel anymore, but I can do the things that I want to do now.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Hello and welcome to Horsing Around. I'm Dr. Chris Blevins at Kansas State University Veterinary Health Center. Today we're going to talk about something that is always of a concern with most horses, especially during the summer, and that's skin diseases and issues. We have to remember that the skin is actually the largest organ of the body, and so with that, trying to protect and keep it healthy is important. Now, skin issues are mainly seen during the summer, and we can even categorize those skin issues into two different categories. Contagious, that of which can go from one horse to the other, versus non-contagious skin diseases, that of which cannot be transferred from one horse to the other. In addition, with contagious, there are some skin diseases that can even be transferred to you or I, so as to humans. We always need to be concerned potentially with that also. One of the first ones that we'll kind of talk about that is contagious is ectoparasites. That is bugs that live on the horse. Not necessarily a good thing in most aspects, especially during the summer or even in the winter when we consider lice. You have to remember though that lice do not go from horses to humans, but they can sure go from horse to horse. And you can see them on the horse usually under the mane, and more prevalent usually in the winter when the horses are kind of huddled together on there. The other one is mites. Some horses can even get mites, and they're usually pretty itchy with those also. They can be under the neck or under the ventrum or underneath the mane, but they're usually really itchy, even on the head. The veterinarian would be able to diagnose those things, and some of them are even reportable because of their contagious nature. One of the most common mites is the feather mite that is usually found in draft horses around their hooves. So I think, again, getting your veterinarian involved for some of those things, there are some treatment options for that and sure could help if you ever notice any of those things. The other one that is contagious is a fungus, ringworm. Horses can get ringworm. Horses could transmit ringworm from one horse to the other, but also to you as a human. So I think if you ever notice those type of lesions, they're circular little lesions on the skin, that you contact your veterinarian and figure out the best treatment options for those things too. Other than treatment, the other thing is management, and I think keeping things clean. Remember, brushes can actually transmit from one horse to the other. So what you think is doing a good thing by grooming your horse or putting a saddle pad on one horse and the other could be transferring of diseases, including that of which is on the skin especially. I think the other thing to remember that sometimes environment can cause different disease processes to start. One of the other ones is a virus that can be on the skin, papillomavirus. That is warts. So horses can get warts, they can get warts on their muzzle, they can even get a wart in their ear. A lot of times that's transmitted by insects, flies and those things, especially into the ear. And so what do you need to do for those? A lot of time the immune system will go ahead and take care of it on its own, but you can contact your veterinarian and sure ask him about different medications and other modalities of trying to help prevent or get rid of warts. So I think with some of those, there are sure a lot of other things, including a lot of flies and just regular dermatitis, but talk to your veterinarian if you're concerned, how to prevent it, how to treat it. Even give us a call here at Kansas State University Veterinary Health Center if you have those additional questions. I'm Dr. Chris Blevins at Kansas State Vet School, and we'll see you around.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.